Guru Sri Juta Padakamalang.
Hare Krishna, welcome to our channel. Bhagavad-gita, here it is, because we have Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And yes, I'm very happy that you have come here to read Bhagavad-gita with me. And right now we are in chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute. And the previous two verses have been speaking a little bit about worship of demigods. Krishna says, those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods. And then Krishna, in everyone's heart, a super soul, makes that person's faith steady so he can devote himself to that deity. And this verse is the continuation from that. Text 22. Sataya shradhaya yuktas tasya radhanam ihate labhate chatata kaman mayeva vihitan hitan. Endowed with such faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Krishna speaking. Yes, and if you read Bhagavad-gita at home, I very much like to read between the Sanskrit and the translation. There is a section with the word-by-word translation, word by word. And there, I mean, you're not going to learn Sanskrit exactly, but you're going to have more of a sense of the terms and their meaning. And since many of the words come back, then, but I'm not going to do it here because it's not really the format. But yes, that's one way to utilize or get deeper into the Bhagavad-gita. Purport: the demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. The living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity, and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform, because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For a living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. The pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So this world, depending on how we look at it, depending on our perspective or our desires, we will see it in different ways. And reading Bhagavad-gita, it helps us to see it in the Krishna conscious way. Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness. He established this society for Krishna consciousness, because really that's the only thing we're lacking. This world is full of everything, and sometimes we get a little bit absorbed in the problems and the things that we can put right, things we can change for the better. But actually in this world everything is there. The only reason that things are not perfect is that we forget who we are, we forget who Krishna is, and we get entangled in this world. We identify with this body, and then all these desires come up, and when we identify with them too much, then we kind of lose track of reality. So a pure devotee of Krishna also has desire. It's not that we become desireless. It's not that we try to become desireless. But we want to shift from material desires to spiritual desires. So we heard of the 4 kinds of people who are unable to turn to God at all. And then we heard of 4 pious people who start their direction. They turn to Krishna with their material desires. And now we're hearing of those who have material desires and they turn to the demigods instead. And the Vedic structure is so vast that everyone can fit inside it. Krishna says that also somewhere, everybody follows my path in all respects. The thing is, this path, you can be on one part or another part. You can go in one direction or the other direction. So we want to be a little bit focused, because we have this human life right now and we don't know how long it will last. I've come to the point where I know my life, the part of the life that I have in front of me is shorter than the part that I have behind me, which is kind of interesting. But wherever we are in this life, we can become a little serious. We can start to look at the eternal things. What is eternal? I am eternal, Krishna is eternal. And that relationship is eternal. This material nature is also eternal, but this present manifestation is not. This body will die, this country will go under, this planet will be finished and destroyed at one point. But beyond that, the spiritual world is always there. So this is interesting, because when we have desires, if we're a little bit sincere, but at the same time we have some material desires, sometimes Krishna fulfills the desires to put us in a peaceful mood so that we can continue. And sometimes he doesn't, because he knows these desires, they will be impediments on our path. And with Krishna, it's not a business arrangement. With the demigods, if we deserve the benedictions they can give us, we can have them, and if we don't, we can't have them. So if we have that karma, or if we have done our whatever level of yagya or worship of the demigods, then we can have that. But with Krishna, it's not a business arrangement, because Krishna loves us, and Krishna is looking at us and looking out for us. What is the best situation? And therefore, religion sometimes becomes a little bit narrow-minded, and Krishna is not. Krishna is not narrow-minded. We have some moral rules, we have some religious structures, and they're all very helpful. But the actual reality is that we are eternal spirit souls, and we have an eternal loving relationship with Krishna, and Krishna is in our heart as super soul. So when we look for his guidance, he can help us. When we become too much absorbed in our own material desires, then it becomes very, very difficult to hear him. And then we require some kind of moral structure so that we don't destroy everything. But ultimately, sometimes we have material desires and Krishna will not fulfill them, because he sees that's just going to entangle you further. It's going to make you forget your spiritual nature more and more, and it's just going to create problems. So that's interesting, because you can't tell from the outside. Is this person getting everything he wants because he's on such a level that it will not entangle him further, and Krishna trusts him to use that in his service? Or is he getting it because he has some good karma from before and Krishna doesn't interfere? Or is he getting it because he's so forgetful of God that he's just on that material path, and right now he has some good karma? It's impossible to know. It's impossible to know from the outside. So therefore we don't want to be too much entangled in judging others, or from their material level or whatever. We want to focus on understanding how to remember Krishna, how to see Krishna in the middle of all of this. So we don't turn away from Krishna. Just like there is a bird, I don't remember the name exactly, but this bird only drinks water from the rain clouds, only the fresh drops coming out of the rain clouds. And if there is no water in the clouds, this bird will not drink. So a pure devotee of Krishna will take whatever Krishna offers. And if Krishna doesn't give him anything, then he's not going to look elsewhere. And if Krishna gives him everything, he's going to accept it also and not be falsely attached to his his austerity or his renounced position. So yes, the demigods, they have a certain position in the universe. They are not disconnected from Krishna. They're doing God's work. But when we look to them as a way of forgetting Krishna, then that becomes problematic. Yes. So that's also part of this chapter, knowledge of the Absolute. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.